You're muted, by the way.
Oh, God damn it.
I did the same thing yesterday on Ashes of the Grey. I understand.
Well, shit. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. I hope everyone's having a good night so far. We're talking about the Bard, just like everybody else. There's nothing new. But hopefully we have some more unique questions than what everyone's talking about. But joining me today is Lloyd and Aura Frostline. If both of you want to introduce yourselves. We'll start with Lloyd.
Yeah, sure. I'm Lloyd. I'm a content creator in the Ashes of Creation community. I don't know, like I like to talk about the game, and that's why I'm here. So that's it.
You couldn't come up with a better introduction.
Short, simple, straight to the
I
point. We
was
like it.
thrown on the spot, and I just didn't care.
I know what I'm
I
talking
did
to
not
you
give a
after
shit.
stream about next time. We're gonna help. I'm gonna work on your introduction with you.
No, it's fine. It's
No,
memorable.
no, no. I'm helping you after
No,
stream.
I refuse.
Anyways, hello. I am Aura Frostline. I am a PNG tuber streamer. I do variety content, and typically you'll find me on Guild Wars 2 releases playing that game. I also appear on various channels doing various things. Like here I'm doing a podcast. I've played KDM on streams, Pathfinder, etc. I find my way around. I mod basically whoever I feel like. So you'll see me in many, many places in various different communities.
Paranoid, are you rating with yourself?
The one viewer.
Because you didn't even get an alert. That's how puny the raid was.
/ shout out Paramount. No, I'm not even a mod here.
I am the only
first
mod.
time I'm on a stream and I'm not a mod. This is a rare opportunity for me.
Just casually.
Somewhere I'm actually a guest. No, honestly, like every Thursday or so, I am streaming somewhere. I'm not a mod. It's nice not having responsibilities.
I feel that.
I take all the responsibilities upon myself, ladies and gentlemen. You guys get to sit back and relax, all right?
Beautiful.
All right, let's go ahead and get down to the nitty gritty then. So I'm assuming we all watched the Bard showcase.
1 or 2 or 7 times, yeah.
I watched it once and called it a day, and then I looked at the wiki, which was way thorougher than you'd think. Man,
yeah.
People like rip that thing apart. I don't even think there was a word on like uttered that didn't make it onto that wiki.
You ever see that meme where it's like that dry ass cow, like just like super milked out, and then it's like the Ashes of Creation content creator community, and it's like, oh, let's go to the wiki.
There's Jamie. We found him.
Hi, Jamie.
What's up, Jamie?
If you want to come, share any thoughts you have, you're welcome to pop into the voice channel.
I thought this was my stream. I thought I'm the one that's supposed to invite him on.
No.
Oh, okay.
Hello,
we're taking over.
Yeah. Well, hi, welcome to my stream. This is my stream. I have my guests, Kurian and Lloyd.
You know what? If you want to take over, I'll give you mod. You can do all the work then.
He's like, please God, no.
Welcome to basically how everything ends up happening, which is I have the ability commanding presence. And by nature, I end up running shows that aren't even my responsibility.
So Osiris says, "All right, this looks."
You've watched this on Pathfinder, where I'm like basically half running Jamie's Pathfinder.
True.
Osiris says, "All right, this looks like some dudes that can string a thought together." And I'm sorry, we might be worse than Jamie.
We're like
sorry.
5 minutes.
What's a thought?
We've mentioned the word bard like twice, and like not mentioned a skill.
I was just saying, yeah, this is supposed to be a bard stream, and we started, and we're already off on a tangent, man. Like,
it's because
Jamie's rubbing off on us.
It's all Jamie's fault. I'm gonna blame Jamie on this one. No, but let's why don't we? So we did actually try our best to be productive members of society, and by that I mean we prepared questions and topics to discuss. And
True.
I guess I'm just gonna be fucking curator of this stream because I am the bard main.
So you are the bond main. I am a cleric main. So
and Lloyd is Lloyd. What
undefined.
Are
Undefined.
And
I will play whatever's the
Lloyd
most
is,
fun.
if you've ever played Town of Salem, Lloyd's the amnesiac. He doesn't know what
Yep.
class he is.
What?
He's gonna go to bed one night and have to remember what class he is.
Yep.
And he
I
says
am
Ranger.
usually an altaholic, so that's kind of where I fall under. Like, where's the best playstyle for me, or what's the most fun, or what's the most broken? Whatever, pick your poison, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so let's stop our tangent. Let's get this show back on the road.
Yeah. So, why don't we start with the initial
Yeah,
thoughts?
chef.
Yeah, so we'll start with Lloyd, just because I know, Aura, you have your whole spiel to go real quick. So we'll put Lloyd on the spot again. So Lloyd,
Perfect.
what are your
Lloyd unprepared?
Yep. What are your initial opinions on the Bard? Like the first time you watched it?
Loved it. Definitely had some criticisms when it comes to like gameplay and stuff like that, but overall, really like just the concept of what the bard is, the kind of things that they do with it, and I think that the biggest initial reaction was that bard seems like it can have a low skill floor and a high skill ceiling, and I'm really excited about that.
All right. So, all right, Aura, take it away. Go.
Yeah, I have to agree with a lot of what Lloyd said. It is definitely going to be like easy to enter, hard to master, sort of class. From what I could see, there was a lot of minutia you can do with the class, between song weaving, the dances, the building of sagas, and which saga you're picking. So picking like which saga builders you pick is going to
Mm-hmm.
be a major thing. Things like that. There's going to be it to me is such a well built, all encompassing thing of the class fantasy that is a bard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was like ecstatic the moment I saw it. I think it's one of the best interpretations I've seen of bard in a very long time, even if you include like turn-based strategy games and stuff like that. It is one of, if not the best interpretation of a bard class.
All right. So for me, I think the Bard looks extremely similar to. I said it before, but I thought Bard was going to be like the augmentation of Ochre to WoW, and
Mm-hmm.
it is. The entire premise of augmentation was to literally buff everybody in your group to make sure whatever that they're doing, they do it better. And that's exactly what the Bard tier does. Each of your melodies and stuff are some sort of buff to let the healer do something better, or your damage do something better, etc.
I mean, we actually talked about this yesterday about Ashes, like on Ashes of the Grey. Like that was something Daedalus actually wanted from the Bard, but thought was missing. Like it felt like the Bard was more of like a class to keep up like downtime efficiency, and it was less about like actually buffing the party.
I
Like
would
it was a
disagree
lot
with
about
that.
like mana, like hots, mots, and dots is kind of how I put it. Health over time, or mana over time, and damage over time type of things. So it like helps increase the party efficiency, but it's not like there to really buff the party. Like I didn't see any like attacks. Well, I maybe there was like one attack speed buff, but like outside of that, it was like no like real DPS buffing. It was mostly just like resource management buff, like over time.
That's fair to say that it is like a resource management heavy kit. But there were, I believe, showcased about 3 skills that either debuffed the enemy, buffed the party, or something along those lines. There was a direct attack speed buff. There was the enemy defense down, and I believe there was one more, but
There was
I
the demoralize, the pep, pep for movement speed, demoralize for damage, reduction, and then also
the
the
Anthem of
time
Alacrity,
one
which was attack speed, which
for one person. Yeah.
was it one? Yeah, which
Yep.
Yeah, one
that's
person.
which overall that's fine. Attack speed, like for a party wide, would be a bit on the overpowered side,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're like just all you got to go and pick your who. Maybe you go and give the attack speed to your cleric to go heal better, or you give it to your tank to go and like generate threat faster, or DPS to like maybe like just for the sake of conversation, pretend Jamie was here, and the four of us are in a party. Lloyd's the DPS, Kieran's the healer, I'm the bard, and Jamie's the tank. Maybe I give it to Lloyd to DPS to go and clear the enemy faster, or I give it to Jamie to tank to like build threat to keep it off of Lloyd, who's DPSing a million miles, or I have to give it to Kieran to help heal faster. Also, hi Jamie.
Hi,
Welcome.
Jamie. Also, I think I would rather walk in on my parents having a three-way with my best friend because it's less committal. I don't have to commit to that.
Yeah, so Annie asked, would you rather marry a stranger and be unable to get divorced, or walk in on your parents having a three-way with your best friend? Speaking of how my best friend is my fiance, this is hard.
I think I'd rather marry the stranger. Like, yeah, probably work out for the best.
Is it me, or does Korea look like a beach boy vacationing at the Eye of Sauron?
He's been on vacation for the last like 3 months. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation already.
So you guys, okay, so we were discussing, you guys went into abilities and different ability types and stuff, and so what it's saying is like you guys think bard is going to be on the complicated side, or do you think it's going to have like a low skill ceiling?
I think it'll have a very low barrier to entry. I think, but to play at the highest level. So if you're looking at just regular Joe Schmo playing, I think it'll be easy to get into, easy to kind of like keep your party alive or buff them or whatnot. But when you get to like potentially solo healing as bard, that's when you're going to have like the skill ceiling is insanely high, where it's like weaving your songs perfectly, targeting the finger gun heal precisely when it's needed to, making sure like that kind of like stuff is where it's going to be much harder to like it's going to be a much higher skill set. So like it's going to be a very large gap, but that's the type of class you want. You want a easy bar to entry where it's like you can fuck up and you still are basically correct, but you want to be able to max tier it, and like you basically can do the job of another class on top of your own when you're at that high a level.
I made a joke that I was summoned, but I realized my mic was set to push to talk, so I missed it. You guys missed it.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah, you guys missed all my funny conversation. I didn't realize I was talking to myself when I first jumped in. How's it going, guys?
Hi,
how's it going?
I don't know if I could do the threesome one because Annie's my best friend, and that's really fucking weird. That's what I said. And
there's now two Annies. That's how it works.
Yeah. I was like, I thought I was
just
Richard,
says,
so
I thought it was I thought your dad was you type of thing, you know?
All right, guys, I gotta run off, but I want to stop in and say hi and bug you. I love you guys. Bye.
Bye, I love you.
Too. Bye.
Bye, I love you. Have fun.
Bye.
I believe in you guys.
I believe in you.
I
was gonna say that I agree with what Aura was saying, was that you have the abilities in themselves in the talent tree where the crescendo is the low skill floor type of talent, and then the counterpoint is the high skill floor type of talent, where you can use these different talent trees and spec into different types of play styles that will allow you to play whether an easier barrier to entry or the really like knowledge intensive type of class, and also there's like really short time windows for you to go in and do like clutch heals or clutch shields. Even as a bard, you won't replace a cleric, but you will definitely be able to support where the cleric may not be able to assist.
Right. So in that regard, do you think a bard will be more effective at like a lower tier of play or like a higher tier of play?
Both.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think bard is going to be the universal truth kind of thing. Essentially, a bard that just started, just hit max level, and a bard that's been max level for the past 12 years are going to be equal in terms of value.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, yes, obviously you'd want the more tenured person, but if you like, a bard's a bard. They're going to provide you benefit. If all they do is pick a random DPS and give the attack speed buff, then they've already done an amazing job.
Yeah. Like, as long as they're just, putting their face on their keyboard, they're probably going to hit a button that works for the group, That's
So
what it
you-
feels like to me, but there is like definitely the the higher skill floor where like you do this buff before this mechanic for PvE, or you slide in with a shield at like a very clutch moment during PvP for your allies, or you do the gambit ability where you reversal like health. There's these different things that will allow there will be like ways to tell like what's a good bard versus a bad bard, but even a bad bard probably isn't that bad. It's like pizza, um like pizza's like sex. Like, even when it's bad, it's still kind of good, Like, even when your bard is bad, it's still kind of good, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
I get what you're saying. Like, the big difference, I think, long term and more noticeably, is how you would build your party. Basically, like, with a low skill bard, you might take a full cleric with you, where with a high skill bard, you might be able to be like, oh yeah, we'll just take another low skill bard with us, or a second high skill bard, and now you're getting into like some crazy thing where you don't need a cleric and you can go and like play much more with fire, getting more attack speeds out, getting more damage out, things of that nature, where because these players know what they're doing and know how to get away with it.
Alrighty.
What are your
So,
thoughts, Korean?
what
You're
am
just
I?
asking all these questions. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying myself right now. Not gonna lie. Normally, people are asking me the questions.
Yeah.
So,
Now I'm asking you. What's up?
yeah, no, actually, for the bard itself, I agree with you guys. I think that either having like a low skill bard or a high skill bard, it's gonna be good to have one way or another. But is that Jamie? Oh, he just left. Okay, whatever. At a higher skill of play, like if you have a better team, the bard is going to be way more effective than it is going to be on a lower end team, because everything's all percentage based and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think what it's going to come down to, sorry to cut you off, but I think what it's going to come down to when it comes to like whether somebody takes a bard or not personally is whether or not they feel comfortable with their cleric as well, because they might want to take a second cleric over a low skill bard
Mm-hmm.
if they're not comfortable with their primary cleric.
That, and also I think it's also just to the point where if your team isn't that great, it might be more beneficial to have a full damage dealer or another full healer than having a
For
bard with these
context,
small buffs.
what do we mean by like for a team? Are we talking about like 8-person party, 40-man raid? Like, what are we talking about?
8-person and 8, like,
Yeah,
let's
okay,
use 8-person comp for now.
Yeah, say you're going into a dungeon, right? And you guys are doing this boss fight and stuff, and you have this bard with you. Okay, the bard is not a full damage class, it's not a full healing class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And say maybe your cleric isn't that good, right? So you guys you're struggling with the heals and everything like that. I mean, you can always replace the cleric, or you could replace the bard itself and have a secondary cleric.
Yeah, maybe
So
you're
we'd
like,
rather having like another full healer might be better than having like the half thing that the bard is getting, because your other cleric isn't getting really the benefit from the bard just because their skill level is not that good.
I think when we talk about this, when we're like talking about like building a comp, it's pretty important to add the context of like how Ashes of Creation dungeons are supposed to be played, which is like the faster you clear it with X amount of members, the more loot you get. So you kind of have to like measure this how much DPS do we need to take this out while staying alive, and also, moving through the dungeon. I think with Bard, you are actually, even with a low skill Bard versus a low skill Cleric, I don't think the skill really matters in terms of like composition. I think when you think about like composition, you think about like the lowest skill floor, and then you kind of move your way up, which means that the Bard is pretty much in there for just increasing your efficiency from moving through the dungeon. You don't have to constantly sit, wait for mana. You don't have to, wait for hot, or you don't have to like wait for um like your cleric waiting up on mana or whatever. You can just move from like one part of the dungeon to the next part of the dungeon and just keep that uptime going. That way that the efficiency of the clear and you moving through the dungeon will also grant your party better loot. So I think when we talk about like building a comp, I think that should be really, really important to have that context.
Yeah, you are correct in that. But the other thing to keep in mind is when you're going and exploring, like a lot of the game, especially for the first 6 to 12 months, is going to be exploration rather than building towards efficiency as new content's gained or lost or explored. So when you go, let's say you're trekking down temple number 4 and you're finding that you can't survive it, next time you go, you're not going, maybe you drop the bard for a full cleric, or you take, or maybe you bring a second bard. Now you're taking 2 bards and a cleric, a tank, and the rest as DPS. I
Or
think
counterpoint, like what AV was saying in the chat, you just say F supports, let's just do tanks and DPS, and we just eat food and drink potions, like
that's how you get
Yeah.
absolutely annihilated when like the PKers with a tank and with a healer and a bard show up and just blow you up.
oh yeah, it's
I-
possible.
I
If
mean,
you're just trying to clear dungeons though.
You always have to, with a game like Ashes, you have to assume first off, PvP is enabled, and second off,
Mhm.
the other thing to so you need to assume at some point you will take damage beyond the healing of food and food and potions, meaning you need a bard or a cleric at the very least, one or the other. You will never get away without one. If you're
Yeah, I agree.
if you're going into a highly contested area, for the sake of just conversation, let's say you're going and fighting Ragnarok the dragon, and it's a highly contested area. He drops the golden raid feather, which builds into the strongest bow currently in the game. Everybody's going there and everybody's contesting PvP, meaning you're going there assuming you're fighting players as well as mobs.
Yeah, I was kind of memeing. I definitely think both a cleric and a bard will be absolutely necessary in a party. It seems like their composition building for Ashes of Creation is meant to be that full 8 archetype 8-person group for any type of content. That is what they are balancing for. And it definitely seems like if you're missing any one of these archetypes at the moment, you're not running the most max efficient comp. So that's what it seems like at the moment. We'll see what happens when they start introducing secondary archetypes and augments. But as Steven said in the last stream, like that's not going to really be given out to the community for like extra information until they figure out what the rogue and summoner look like, and the primary archetypes are kind of nailed down in class identity. So I don't think we'll learn that for quite a while.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and that's fair.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we don't know anything about archetypes yet.
yeah.
Overall though, going back to it, it's like composition, I think, is going to be with bards is going to be, if you're not taking one, they're probably being replaced with a cleric.
Mm-hmm.
There's no the holy
No other archetype
Trinity
that heals.
is now
Yeah. So
that we know of. Summoner could have healing in its kit that we don't know of.
Well, we
Very
do
true,
know.
very true.
Isn't it said that summoner is able to do everything, depending on like what summon it has out, essentially? It's the
subject to
last thing
change,
that
but
I
yeah.
heard. Yeah.
That's we'll wait till that comes out. But
Yeah.
for
but-
now, we know of 2 classes with healing, and if it doesn't change, I honestly think a bard tank, assuming we like the general assumption of how augments work, where if you take the tank augment, you're going to be able to generate threat properly. I honestly think a bard will be able to tank pretty decently.
See, I don't think that taking tank as your off makes you an off tank or anything like that. From what I understand, it gives you like more mitigation. It makes you tankier, but it doesn't make you have the ability to tank. Like you take on
think it's-
aspects of it. So, like for
Bard,
example,
it
if
does
you
have
were
one thing in his kit which would make at least make for PvP purposes make it a tank.
well, I mean,
Are
I'm
Are we
try-
talking about like what we want or what you understand the system as?
That's it.
As a go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so from how I understand the system, with how they described how the cleric augment would work for other classes, is that it mainly gives self heals and like self sustain. It doesn't
Mhm.
give you the ability to heal somebody else. So I don't think if you put tank as your off thing in the same aspect, it's not gonna like let you generate threat and be a tank. It's just gonna give you
Well-
like the protection aspect of it.
Well, we know that augments have technically like 4 ways that you could like change a skill up. Damage mitigation might be one, threat generation may be another type of augment. Like, so maybe it is, but like I said, we don't know enough
Yeah,
about
Yeah.
that to like.
It's wild. We're in the wild speculation territory. But going all back to Bard's intrinsic kit, what we know it has, and looking at PvP now for a second. During a caravan run, if your tank is getting beaten down and you know you can take a hit, maybe you're built to heavy armor or a more defensive bard, you have something in your kit which I don't remember what the exact thing is, which basically gives you the effect of being a PvP tank. Where if they don't attack you, they're doing less
Oh,
damage.
you're talking about the essentially the taunt effect.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what is it?
don't
Humiliate.
remember
There
what
was
it's called.
Humiliate.
demoralize into humiliation. Yeah.
Yeah, humiliation is the tank thing.
Which if you're capable which I do think isn't that hard to activate from what I recall. I think it's you throw the tomato into a dance and then it's active.
Well, keep in
Yeah.
mind that your group comp itself can do that for you as well.
Yeah, they can
that's
also
true.
proc those types of synergies. Like,
Yeah.
I believe it was the cleric can use the chains of consecration or whatever. What was it?
I think it's avarice. Chains of avarice, whatever.
Chains of avarice.
Yeah.
And then that will like stagger them, and then the tank can do whirlwind, and it'll like trip them. So like that, like you can do those types of synergies.
Yeah.
What I think is pretty interesting that they mentioned, this is kind of off on a tangent, but what I thought was interesting that they brought up was the spirit magic or the spirit damage type, which is also based off of one of summoner's damage types. I thought that was pretty cool that they brought up and kind of leaked that information. So we get to know like there's like different types of magic damage. There's like ice, fire, like all the elemental stuff. Then there's spirit damage. There's dark, light, maybe even being thrown in for consideration. Like that's pretty interesting to see that there's different types of magical damages that you have to build certain resistances for.
I think you're gonna get a lot of like enchantments and like alchemy stuff for that, like resistances and everything.
Gonna be a lot of potion drinking to
Oh
deal
yeah.
with that stuff. I get the feeling a potion play is going to be a much bigger part of PvP than everybody thinks.
Potion?
Potion play.
I say if
I had a
alchemy as a
huge
whole.
discussion with the Golden Feather Tavern on this.
Yeah, no, I was there. I say if you go back to like if you've ever played Classic WoW or anything like that, every time you went into like a raid or something, depending on the raid you were going to, you had to have nature resistance or fire resistance, shadow, etc. Like you'd be popping potions, you'd be changing all your enchants out. everything just so you can go do this raid, just so you can change it to go do another one the next day.
Do you guys like that? I kind of hate that, to be honest.
If it depends on the difficulty to do, and how often you're doing it.
Mhm.
I think if it's a PvP setting, you're probably going to run the most like middle of the road thing where it's like it doesn't necessarily block like one thing well. It kind of blocks everything okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like a prismatic type block. Yeah.
But
Like, I understand, like, theory crafters, like, liking certain things and needing different ways to, like, theory craft to, like, the best way to get through certain types of content. But for me personally, it's like anything that takes me out of the game and puts me into, like, a UI screen of, like, managing different buffs or different gears and, like, different scalings and stuff like that, kind of takes me away from the game. Any type of, like, like item bloat where I have to do item management all the time. I just don't like that type of game interaction, but I understand that there's other people that do like that type of stuff.
So I agree with what Wisp just said. Like stacking potions for resistances, not an issue, but having to like change your armor sets every single time for resistances, I think that's when it gets a little too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm a big fan of like alchemy and stuff like that. If it wasn't for the fact I'm really interested in going the animal breeding route, I'd have probably gone full alchemy. I'd probably be going full alchemy in
That's why
terms of like,
I'm doing full alchemy.
I'll probably be like a constant customer of yours.
If we're on the
I'm
same
looking at the
server.
scribe, but I don't like, because I know scribing is going to be doing like some sort of enchanting, but
Mhm.
I'm really looking at like what that might be.
I'm curious as to what arcane engineering is.
Me too. Ever since they took out like potion launchers or whatever, because that's not going to be in the game anymore. Like, I'm like, what do you even do for arcane engineering?
Yeah, we've got
You
nothing.
make siege weapons.
Well, so we already know that building siege weapons and everything has to do with like carpentry and everything like that. Like you have to get pieces from everything to build siege weapons.
Yeah.
I don't know if arcane engineering is just siege weapons though.
Yeah, it's like blacksmithing, carpentry, and all that other stuff.
I do have to say, if from WoW, I hope that they don't do all the crazy engineering stuff that WoW did.
Rocket boots?
Like, I mean, rocket boots, the charge stun helmet, all of the fancy gadgets and stuff that they had. Because
Steven doesn't like the steampunk stuff, so I'm gonna assume no.
Okay.
I get the feeling it's true fantasy where it's like magic kind of like is a replacement for technology. And like arcane engineering is probably just different ways to express magic. It could also just be how you craft things like the spell book or a wand or things like that.
Maybe. Well, we got off on a huge tangent from Bard.
Yeah, where are we at?
But speaking of
what land are we
we're
in?
like four live streams back now.
Yeah, but speaking of weaponries and stuff, what weapon choices do you guys think for bards? Because personally, I did not like the book on the bard. The book is cool, would fit great on a mage or a cleric or something, but not a bard.
I think you're wrong, but I think you're wrong.
I don't know.
So okay.
Bard to me looked like a more melee class because everything was all like the small AoEs and stuff. I do like a sword or something.
Like the dances?
Were we watching the same live stream? A lot of the AoEs were massive.
Those are the
melodies.
melodies.
The melodies, but the dances were a small circle around you.
Yeah, but those are the more powerful it is, the more tight it is. That's typically how it works, because you want to go and make sure you're playing. You're not like, Jim over in fucking Forest 8 while you're in Forest 3 isn't getting the buff.
Yeah.
I think the book overall still fits the bard theme. For one simple reason, bards did historically have little notebooks on them constantly. Keep track of their poems, songs, notes.
That's a good point.
Things of that nature. They were much smaller, yes, and they weren't floating, but
I do think the book was a little tad too big, but other than that,
the book was a little massive.
I think I personally didn't like the book floating. I think if floating upside down, like if it floated upside right, where it was like you open the
It
book
did
and
during
it's
the
facing
attack animation. The attack animation had
Yeah,
it
but
like
during the
flip open
passive,
upside.
Mhm.
with the spine up felt so awkward. Like like I don't know anybody who would carry a book like that.
So yeah,
Like
I think
normally.
I agree with like ways like minimize it at least 25%. Like that thing was way too massive. It was bigger than the player frame. So
I mean, I do like I liked it floating because it allows them to do like certain animations and stuff like that, and you're not like, oh, this guy was carrying something and now he's magically carrying a flute, or now he's just got some other type of thing that he's doing. Like, I thought it was pretty cool for that reason, but it kind of brings up my main question that I had. I forget which Discord. I'm in so many Discords. I was having a conversation in one of the Discords about like just weapons in general and like how they scale with archetypes. And like I understand that it makes sense for a bow to be like a dex, a book to be like intelligence and stuff like that. But I feel like if you are truly trying to make a system with any weapon being available to any archetype, and you can do that, I think you need to build a system that supports that. Obviously, there's going to be
we
things that are better for
we
certain
already
archetypes.
we already know that within crafting and everything, you can make any weapon, and depending on the resources you use while making it, it changes the stats that it has. So you can make
Yeah.
a book that gives strength.
Yeah. And a a book could be a slicing weapon with like a fighter for all we know, where they kind of like they throw it like a boomerang and it comes
Just gonna
back to
smack
them.
somebody with a tome.
Yeah, they smack somebody with the book.
I
Or
don't
like
think they'll actually do that though. Like I don't
I
think they'll
really hope
change the animation based off of the
I
stat
say,
scaling.
yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen either. But I would say
no,
it
but
changes
based on the
essentially what your
class.
auto attacks are.
No, I
Yeah.
would love to see like one auto attack with the fighter where it's like they open the book and just close it on the enemy repeatedly. Just like push their face into it, close it a couple of times. That'd be
That's
funny.
Like I think that
funny.
would be funny. I just don't think it's like
It's
No,
not
I don't think
feasible,
it would be. I
unfortunately.
think it'd be fun.
Okay. Yeah, no, but like that's the thing. Like, I if that's we know that for sure, 100% that that is exactly how enchantments are gonna be for like item crafting and weapon crafting. Because I don't remember seeing that.
I think when it comes to stats, that's probably something better left to much later. I do think
Hmm.
when it
Yeah.
comes to bards and what stat expression they're going to use, I do think I think int is probably the stat they're going to be going,
Mm-hmm.
because like I don't think there's a wisdom or a charisma stat in the game.
Well, I don't know.
I know they pulled up the stat page. I didn't take too much of a look
When
into it
in Alpha
personally yet.
1 they had just like basic D&D stats like strength, dex, con. I don't know if they stuck with that throughout to A2 or not,
Hmm.
but they did just like have a basic like D&D like kind of stat block whenever we were in our like character page or whatever. So they might actually have wisdom and charisma.
Okay, I pulled up I found the stats from Alpha 1 on the wiki, which was Constitution, Dex, Power, Will, and Wisdom. And
Yeah, will.
let's assume for the sake of conversation, that's what they go with.
So I know.
I can see Bart's going Wisdom.
So I'm trying to pull it up right now, but I know that they opened up the inventory and you could see the entire character sheet under right here. Where is this? Let's see. They have Constitution, Strength, Dexterity, Mentality, Intelligence, and Wisdom.
Interesting.
So they have changed the stats.
Yes. So let's see. And then there's like magic power and stuff.
Yeah. I guess the root of my qualm with it is I think if you want to be a specific archetype and your abilities scale off of something such as say intelligence and you want to use a sword, I think the stat should be attached to the weapon skill tree and not towards the archetype. So if I want to use a sword, I have to skill up the sword and that will give me the stat that I need to do the damage based off of my weapon, not necessarily the archetype that I choose. That way, like if I want to be a bard with a bow, I don't have to worry about gearing with dex. I can just use a bow, and that stat will just level with me, and then that creates character progression. I
So
think character progression is something that's not really seen so far in Ashes.
So we know you have your character level, and then you have your weapon skill trees, and you have to use the weapon to level the weapon skill trees. Are you saying
Correct.
that like you don't want the weapon inherently to have stats itself?
Not inherent. Like I want a base damage based off of your level skill, and the weapon to have its own stat block. So like you could have a bow that does 32 physical damage, but then the more you use the bow, you have more of that stat, or you can like level up certain like dexterity points within that to give your character those points whenever you're using a bow. Does that make sense or no?
Kinda.
That
Good.
yeah. I personally think like customizing a weapon to like where it's like you go and Jamie is our weaponsmith, makes every single weapon, and I'm like, oh hey Jamie, I'm gonna play bard with a bow. I need you to go and make me an int bow. And like he can go and it's like, yeah, I can custom order that. I need you to get me this very rare material to make it int though. And I'm like, hell yeah. And that to me is much cooler than like going like, yeah,
I
okay,
think you
this
can
bow
implement that
is
in the
always dex.
system. I think you can do like
Mhm.
the bow does physical damage, doesn't say what type of physical damage, and then you can enchant it with what you're saying with crafting to make it an int bow, to make it a dex bow, to make it a strength bow, or something like that.
Yeah. And then you're saying that within the skill tree itself, you could spec into like the bow doing more damage based off your main stat. Is that what you're?
Just like a base damage set, yeah.
Okay.
That can be that definitely could be interesting. Where it's like let's say you're playing a bard with a bow, where normally bow feel is like the bow is very physical damage, and that bases off of your strength almost always, and you go and spec int and you spec to have it where it's still physical damage, but it's based off of your int stat instead.
Yeah,
That could be
that way you can gear for your archetype, but your weapon will always do a set amount of damage based on like your skill tree and the amount of time you've spent leveling that weapon skill tree.
Mhm.
And then
I
that
think
gear can be augmented through crafting and other things.
Okay. So you're having extra progression added in because
Correct.
again you want more play. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So I want to take a second to thank everybody that has followed. I appreciate it. I know I haven't been saying it because we've all been deep in conversation, but I do appreciate it. And so going back to Bard, how do you think Bard itself will perform in solo play? Because in the Bard stream itself, it looked like he was doing absolutely nothing to that poor skeleton when it was 1v1ing it.
I honestly think that's where where one of my qualms was with the weapon skill tree is like, if you want supports to be able to function on their own, they should have their own source of damage, whether it be like through the weapon skill tree or their own means. That's another way to do it. But I definitely think with the weapon skill tree, you are able to function that much better. But yeah, Bard as a solo class, it's probably possible. I didn't see it as a very good. It's probably a very slow leveling experience.
Mhm. You think if people
Yeah.
are going to be playing a Bard that they're just going to try and always be in a group while leveling then?
Yeah, but every group's gonna want a bard, so like you're not gonna have a hard time finding it.
I get the feeling playing bard is going to be like the really ancient MMO experience when you used to play healer,
Yeah.
where you're abysmal on your own, and like nobody wants you early on. You're trash. Get the hell out of like why are you trying to party with us? But the moment you're like max level, everybody wants you in your party. So it's like it's getting up there is going to be an uphill challenge, but the moment you hit max level, you'll never want for a party.
It's like one of the best scaling classes or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, where it's like the higher as you level up, you're like when you're level 1, getting a party, doing solo plays is going to be miserable. It's going to be slow. But you're level 2, it's slightly better. 3, 4, 5, 10. You know, by the time you're level 15, you're basically almost always in a party.
So you're saying you don't want to just keep throwing tomatoes every 10 seconds at something and kiting it until you finally kill it?
Throwing tomatoes,
No,
slapping it with your instrument.
running, kiting,
Throwing
running
some music
around,
notes
hoping
at
the,
it.
hoping the bow Jamie slapped me with has a decent range. Yeah,
Exactly.
not at all. That sounds honestly miserable.
I don't remember what the actual cooldown was on the tomato thing, but I remember it having a cooldown and it being relatively long, and I was like,
I say Wisp says that that's where the high skill tree will come into play. Oh, I just lost Discord. Give me 1 second.
Welcome back.
Hi.
he's like, wait a minute.
It's like something went wrong here.
So where did we cut off?
You guys actually didn't. And when I started talking is when you guys cut off.
Gotcha.
So, when I was saying what Wisp was saying in chat.
What did Wish say in the chat? I think
so
Bard will make
you got it.
seeing gather move speed in out, gathering hard to track. Yeah.
So I think Bard will make a good gatherer, but I think Rogue's gonna be better, just because of Rogue's gonna have true stealth, and it's also that they wanted Rogue and Ranger to have more mobility than Bard, at least originally.
Yeah, I wonder if mobility is like dashes, blinks types of things, or because like Bard seemed fast as fuck.
Yeah, and Rogue's supposed to be faster than that, supposedly.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But like, I don't think a Ranger is gonna outrun a Bard, but they are technically more mobile with like disengage and airstrike. So I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by mobility.
Maybe, yeah.
I think more for generalized mobility, where it's like, yeah, like with disengage stuff like that, you have movement skills, but with Bard, it's more your default run speed and stuff like that, where it'll feel a bit slower because movement skills always feel faster, but you will have more stable. It'll be more stable, where it's like run song, run dance, whatever. You bounce between a bunch of skills, and you have a more stabilized, like continuous speed of like that's slightly higher, which can outpace something. It's the age old thing of like, in back in the caveman days, we didn't outrun the antelope. We just had like a much longer endurance and eventually caught up to it when it got tired.
Right.
It'll be the same kind of thing with Bard, where it's like, it's not like, yeah, I can't outpace. I might not be able to, outpace a Ranger, but the moment its skills are on cooldown, I'll start catching up to it very, very slowly. And that's what'll be scarier, is it's not gonna be like the Ranger dashing at you with disengages and stuff like that. It's gonna be the Bard kind of menacingly running towards you.
Yeah. Pockets makes a good point. Just go Rogue/Bard, and then you get best of both worlds. You know. Get the nimble, you get the pep, you get the mobility with the Rogue. Let's go.
Pocket is right though, that the Bard is more group oriented, and then all the other mobility and stuff for other classes is literally just themselves.
Yeah.
So let's see. Arthas, thank you for the follow. And
what up?
Alrighty. So I know that Royer brought it up earlier. He said about the Holy Trinity and how it was now a Holy Squarity.
Oh yeah.
So we have our tank, who is literally named Tank. We have our DPS classes, and we have our healer, which is a cleric. And here comes Bard, ruining all of that.
I'm going to disagree with both you and Rory are here. The Trinity still exists, and it is still a Trinity. You are not. It is still DPS, tank, support.
Yeah, I
The
was about to say the
difference-
same thing. I do think the
difference-
healer is just interchanged or substituted with support.
It has always been that healers fall under the category of support, not specific healer became the term out of that was the more 99% of the time you want healing support, but so you want support nonetheless. You want somebody to support you in some way, shape, or form. Bards
Now here's
can
the question:
See,
Is are tanks supporters as well?
tanks could be classified as a support role,
see, I
but they
separate.
play a different role.
See, I separate healer and support to two different categories.
So, if cleric had buffing skills, let's say like 1 or 2 buffing skills, or like 1 or 2 things that could technically classify it as support, would you classify it as a healer or support then?
I would still classify cleric as a healer. The thing is with bard is that its entire kit is made to support. Cleric's entire kit is made to heal.
And that's where it gets
There's
fuzzy.
the separation.
Yeah, and that's where it can get fuzzy. But like I said, in a really strong, high skill party, you have the top 8 players out there. They're probably not taking a cleric, they're taking 2 bards.
I disagree.
Why would I take a cleric when I can take 2 bards, get equal healing output to as 1 cleric, and also get all the buffs that the bards bring?
What's stopping one high-end bard from being able to do all the buffs themselves?
The fact that you cannot actually maintain all the buffs yourself. It is like there is a limit to how many buffs you can have ongoing with the bard due to cooldowns and duration. So you can't have all the songs going on one bard, but with 2 bards you can have 4 of the songs going.
Yes, but that's also
Guys, I have to interject here. What if they are dead, then they can't kill you? You just go full DPS party. Like,
Why are we back on the?
I'm just kidding, but like,
Why are
I'm
you
just
back
saying,
on
like,
I'd say
it's just kind of funny going over this. Like, I don't know if it really matters what we really classify them as, because
the problem,
like the Holy Trinity is going to get super fucked up with the 64 class system.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the other thing I would like Lloyd that's a good point, which is once we get into augments, we're going to go from the Holy Trinity to the Holy Squarity to the Holy, pentagram to the Holy Octagon to the Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like
I agree
hybrid
with
on
Pockets,
hybrid
though.
on hybrid.
Pocket says you will need a main heals, and I agree. You can't just.
But what's stopping a bard from
What's stopping?
Probably cooldowns.
What's stopping?
My guess is
two,
cooldowns. Yeah.
What's stopping 2 bards from being in the same group is the fact that the bards buffs cannot stack.
Correct. If you're running 2 different.
But cool. You're running 2 different bards. You both have your own separate cooldowns running. You both have all that stuff running. If one bard clicks one thing wrong, then the other one, then you're losing out on a buff.
So
another all on cooldown.
Let's go into the world of speculation for a moment, and let's say I have a party of 2 bards. I could have 1 bard running Cheerful Melody, Pensive Melody, one which the HP and MP, the Hot and Mott songs, and I have the other one running Leech Life and Defense Down for the enemy, and now nobody's dying, everybody has full MP, and the enemy's constantly taking more damage. And I also have the targeted heals of both of those bards I can utilize at any point, while the entire party is getting massive amounts of sustained healing from those 2.
Yeah, your heals have cooldowns.
The heals are cooldowns, but
rather. Okay, so the
You
melodies are rather low impact, but they are also like really good uptime, and I don't think there's like they stay on for like 20 seconds, and then you can like switch it up, and then if you just have 2 bards that are completely in sync, yes, you can have 4 buffs that are like constantly being pushed.
The problem
But
with
you
that,
will miss
though,
out on like
is
major heals. Like
you're
I'm assuming that's what you're going.
I say you're missing out on major heals, but the problem is the bard is still only the half healer. You can only
Mhm.
have one constant melody up. Bard's burst heals are really not that good.
Like that's
You can
what I
have
say.
two with the counterpoint talent, but yeah.
Yeah.
If you have
no,
crescendo, you can only have one.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I'm saying you can have so you can only have one cheerful melody up at a time.
Correct.
on
Yeah,
yourself.
yes.
But there is
Yes.
two.
You can only
songs that-
have one cheerful
me
melody
finish.
on one person at a
Let
time.
me finish. As I never said have two cheerful melodies. So Bard, let's say for the sake of conversation, Lloyd and I are the bards. Lloyd runs the HP, the cheerful melody, and the MP song. I'm running leech life and defense down. You are now getting healed from the leech life and from cheerful melody. Those are two places you are getting passive heals from, which can keep a party alive for quite a while, having played White Mage in Final Fantasy, where I have literally thrown regen on and just DPS the rest of the fight. It's passive sustained healing, when done well, can be more powerful than any burst healing. The burst healing of the bard, the finger guns, the roses, those are backups, and having two means you can go and burst heal much stronger. Yes, it does leave you much more vulnerable to big spike damage, where like constant big spike damage. But if it's controllable damage, or it's not like constant spike damage, you do not need to worry about that, and the passive heals will out heal any damage in the long term.
I just appreciate that we have the ability to have this conversation, considering like the game's not even out yet, and that like we don't know what real encounters look like, but we're already having like these in-depth types of like theory crafting on like how you can build a party. Like I think this is really cool.
I will say, like, you're never going to have more than two bards in a party. That's getting wasteful unless you want the fifth song, which then that bard's taking crescendo for sure, and they're playing
Mhm.
one song the entire time.
one cheerful melody, and the other are playing like the other four melodies.
Yeah, that's getting but that's getting to the levels of like an absurd party comp.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So Garci says as a tank, his DPS is going to be crap. So Leech is not going to be doing anything for him. And
well,
those little
again,
hots
we
are going to be a
have
joke
finger
compared to boss
guns and
damage. So you
we
think
have
that
finger guns and flower petals, and the enemies are going to be defense down. You're still going to be getting that from cheerful melody. You'll have your own mitigation.
Okay, so let's bring up the Bard showcase then. Why wasn't the Bard able to heal the tank when the tank died?
Why wasn't the cleric able to? There was a cleric and a bard, and it died.
To be fair, that was probably just party miscommunication or.
But if we're going to that, a full healer and a bard could still not keep up a tank in that type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
So and you're saying two bards.
We're talking like the super high end levels of gameplay with like the double bard. I'm not talking like.
Are you telling me that Steven is that high levels of gameplay?
I'm sorry, Steven, but no, I don't think you're high levels of gameplay.
Was it just me that realized that he had more HP as a mage than the fighter did at level 10?
I think
anybody else notice that?
More defensive.
I'm looking at this now.
He had 967 HP or something like that, and the fighter had like 934. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, did he level himself higher? And then I looked at his point of view, and he didn't.
10.
He's level 10.
Was Steven level 10 in this video?
He was level 10, but his HP was higher than the fighter.
He could have had HP gear on.
I mean, that's possible. I'm trying to see where it switches.
Yeah, I was like, he hacked somehow, but we got to figure this out. If the fucking mage has more HP than the fighter, I'm gonna lose my mind.
They had to have like constitution gear or something on.
Let me see.
But that fighter is like in full plate and everything. That dude looks beefy as hell.
Yeah, he was in the full Renkai armor and everything like that from the archetype showcase. It was so funny.
Yeah, no, Steven is level 10 on the mage when they switch over to his point of view.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we know Mage is Steven's class of choice. That's not an argument or anything. I'm looking at he's right.
Wait, what are the health levels? Tell me.
Okay, so Steven is 938. Bucky as the bard is 569. Brian as the tank hold on.
He had the
Brian's
most HP. He had like 1k.
Yeah, he wasn't full health in this picture. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. So Bucky's 569. Brian is 1029. The fighter is 913. Steven is 938.
So he's
and
up
the
by
Ranger's
25 HP.
But that
and the
could be a
Ranger's
gear
550.
difference.
Well, okay, but the Ranger and the Bard are both at 500.
Like that is an insane gap.
Why is the Mage having 400 HP over the other two?
You know, I think Steven
Last-
does like playing that like heavy armor mage, like with the mace and everything like that. So maybe it is his armor.
But
It could be like
he's got a
heavy armor
staff.
guarantee you more HP.
He's staffing in cloth.
I don't know. Maybe he went entirely into Constitution. That's getting into like levels of speculation. that
Steven's
we
wearing
weren't
like
getting previously.
legendary.
I think he's just
purple gear.
cheating, dude. I think he's just cheating.
Why are you accusing Steven of cheating in a game?
'Cause it wouldn't
that's
be the
not
first time.
out?
It wouldn't be the first time.
Let's think about the Node Wars where he was level 30 and everybody else was level 15.
Guys, let's just go. Guys, all right, let's just go back to the freaking Castle Siege video where he bumped up his health to 2,000 compared to everybody else that had like 500.
Hi, welcome to the Bard discussion stream where we talk about Steven's HP.
You know, I just had to think. I had to throw it out. I don't know.
He was cheating. He knows how he likes to pull the 20 mobs on his team.
I like how we've gone through so many of our topics through tangents, not by picking like going to.
That's how we normally do it.
Yeah, no. What
That's
do
how you know you run a good show. This is how I run all my shows, by the way. Like I
Well,
don't ever plan anything out. I'm like, oh, by the way, this is something that we were talking about, that we have a topic for, and I'm just gonna segue into it, and I just kind of move on.
Well, I don't think we purposely segue into anything.
I've been trying to get us back on track, to be honest, but we go back
you
off.
haven't.
So, but
Thank you, Kieran.
Here,
Yeah,
like
but
back on our topic, I think here's one thing that I think is a good one that's in this list, which is where'd it go? I swear to God, I saw one. I forgot already. Wow.
good job. But
Good
if we
job.
can go back to what I was going to try and say. We've been talking about composition this, composition that, bar this, bar that. What is your ideal team composition? Like if no
40
augments,
bards.
no augments, no augments,
Bro.
group of 8 at level 25, where you have like access to your entire kit essentially. From all the showcases that we've seen, what is your ideal
So
party comp?
out of the 6 classes we have access to,
Essentially, yes.
Oh, I was gonna just say like the general party composition is just going to be one of each archetype, just based on what I've seen
you
so
gotta
far.
double something up now.
But if it's of the 6 archetypes, it is going to be tank, cleric, bard, ranger, mage, and then you could probably have 2 fighters. Or
I
you
would
could
s-
have 1 fighter, 1 bard, 1 extra bard.
I would say tank, cleric, bard, 2 fighters, 2 rangers, and a mage.
Yeah, I think you keep your main heals on the main tank, and then you have your bard supporting your off tanks, which are your fighters, and then your mage doing AoE damage, and your ranger doing single target damage on like
two
the main
rangers-
bosses.
So
The
am
2
I
rangers
the
could be swapped for 2 mages, but I think generally it's like 2. Basically, you want 3 ranged attackers of some type. Ideally, 1 physical, 1 magical, and then the other one's interchangeable based off preference.
so am I the only one that's thinking 1 tank, 2 clerics, a bard, a mage, a fighter, and then the other 2 slots are a fill slot?
I mean, I think you're going to have way too many. You're going to have way too much overhealing.
I think you'll need more physical damage.
I mean, you also got to. Well, so I said the other 2 slots were fill slots.
You could have them as 2 rangers or 1 ranger, 1 fighter. I would
Yeah, it's
slot
like-
those in.
You could always slot those into whatever you needed to do, but you're going into any type of scenario that you can have fights in PvP. I would rather have some extra little bit of healing and make my PvE take just a little bit longer to be able to out heal every other PvP group.
No, they can't kill you if they're dead. You gotta have more DPS.
They can't kill you if your health bar doesn't go down.
Yeah, but then I don't get the good loots because I don't kill the beast fast enough.
I generally think for like a general every day-to-day party with the current 6 classes, 6 archetypes available, one of each with an extra fighter and an extra either ranger or mage.
But the thing
And
is, the cleric can also do damage on the side.
Look,
The
5
cleric
damage
has
is not damage. That's like saying, yeah, I could go and take an extra bard as well. They can technically do damage.
The cleric did more damage than the fucking bard did.
Yeah, but I can buff I can buff the fighter, and then that's also my damage.
Okay,
That's
I have a bard in my
25%.
party.
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, if
I
you
have
do
a
the
bard in my
alacrity
party.
thing on, what if you have 2?
Yeah, that's 2. So okay, so theoretically speaking, if I was to go and want more healing, I would go and replace the extra range caster, or the either ranger or mage with a second bard, and now I go and cast attack speed buff on both the fighters, and now my bards are doing way more DPS because the new fighter DPS is their DPS.
I just love that it's the bard and the cleric that are trying to ship themselves into the parties with more, so that they can fit themselves into more parties. I'm just the DPS over here, just like watching the 2 supports fight over each other, and it's like, all right, cool.
I mean, you're gonna
literally
need...
the 2 supports.
It's
It's
you're
the
gonna
2
need
supports
one
with
of
a
both of
guaranteed
us.
party slot, basically arguing whether or not they deserve more the higher priority party slot.
Speculation: if you spec into DPS, which is stronger, cleric or bard, solo and or group? Cleric,
100%.
yeah, cleric on its own does more damage than bard. However, with the alacrity of bard's buffs, the bard can theoretically do more damage. Yes.
If
There
you
is
count-
Also, they have more AoE with the sagas. The sagas look pretty sick with
Yeah,
the
if you-
tragedy.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
the cleric has the stun with guaranteed crits.
That is
Yeah.
true.
Like
Bard-
cleric solo potential is actually insane.
When it
I
comes
feel
to
like it's gonna be like
DPS,
the paladin in World of Warcraft, where it's just white damage, and you just never die.
It's honestly, that's kind of what it's looking like. It is
just be able to walk into an army of people, be like, "You're not gonna kill me. Why are you wasting your time? Can I go? Like, I'm about to miss the airship across the world. Please let me go. I will pay you. Just let me stop attacking me. Stop. I'm trying to type. Stop attacking me. You're not going to kill me. This has been 10 minutes. Let me go to the airship.
Bubble hearth.
God damn it.
I feel like that would be
The fact that
funny
you
if
could do the bubble hearth is just annoying.
I think what's funny, would be funny, is actually running cleric tank and being like just an unkillable monster.
I would say for me, pockets. I'm thinking of having like one main healer, like a caster healer, and then having like a more like battle cleric as a secondary healer. So
I just love the idea of a College of Swords bard.
So, like my team comp would ideally be one tank, one full healing cleric, one like off healing cleric, your bard, a wizard, and the fighter, and then fill for the other 2 slots. Probably like a rogue and a ranger or something like that, just to get those in. Honestly, we haven't seen much of Summoner or anything really about Summoner.
We haven't seen anything about Summoner. We know
exactly.
nothing about
Well,
Summoner.
we've heard more about Summoner than we have about Rogue, which tells me that we're gonna get Summoner before Rogue, and everybody's gonna lose their fucking mind.
But we
Rogue
know
is going to be one of 2 things. It's going to be the ultimate burst class, where it's you come in, all your skills are like debuff, 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 debuff while you're hidden, and then you come out of nowhere, and then you basically it's like assassinate, and that's it. And then you gotta wait like another minute before you do it again.
We know that Steven has said that he doesn't want the rogues in this one to be the typical like stealthy assassination type rogues. He wants them to be more utility based. Now,
So,
you can still spec into backstabby assassination rogue. However, rogues are going to be there for all the utility and everything. It's also been said that the rogues in dungeons and stuff are going to be able to detect traps, give extra loot, and show secret side paths.
yeah, rogues are going to be when you're going on your first trip into a place that hasn't been explored or is very poorly documented. You're taking a rogue with you no matter what. Like a lot of a lot of classes have like guaranteed party slots. Like I can guarantee a rogue, like if it wasn't for the fact rogue's not out, like I would have replaced one of the fighters would be replaced with a rogue in my 8-man comp.
Mm-hmm.
The summoner we don't know enough about to know if it's worth putting in the comp, but
I think
rogue
any sort of pet class is either a super big boon for the party or a super big negative for the party.
It depends on how the pet AI is.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have to wait. We'll wait and see if it's like actually a pet class or if it's something else.
And
Yeah,
that
can it
said,
help
also,
tank and can people control it well? That's the whole thing.
I mean, from what we heard,
14 summoners any sign. No.
I say from what we heard, summoner, depending on the summon it can have out, can do what all the other classes can, just not as good.
But
if it's a jack of all trades, then it probably won't fit into many. Like it'll probably need the augment of whatever class is trying to emulate to do well.
Yeah.
And at that point, it also brings up the question of why am I not taking that class with? Like, unless it brings something novel to the party where it's like, even when you, let's say, like, I bring a summoner cleric, and it's like, yeah, it can do cleric-y things pretty well. But it's like, I
Why
could
not
just
bring a full cleric?
bard or a full cleric. But maybe it brings an insane amount of DPS, or I can go and summon a rogue.
It could just be the true hybrid
rogue ability.
It could just be the true hybrid, where you can fill anything that you need at the time.
That one's gonna be interesting, but that's one of those like where it's too far out to even try to speculate properly.
But we did kind of touch on something that I also want to go on to is
diminishing returns.
We never really I mean, yeah, that is another thing, but aggro and threat is because in A1 the threat on healing was insanely high. Like I would constantly, just by putting like a heal over a time on my tank, it'd be like almost like I'm bubbling him and the monster would just go out of control and just start attacking everybody else. Like healing threat matters. And so if you put too much healing into a party comp when it comes to AI, it may just break aggro threat ranges. So that may be another thing to think about.
Intrepid is going to like old school threat tables, right?
Mm-hmm.
A tank's taunt just gives them a shit ton of that threat. Like, let's call it points, right? They'll have a bunch of threat points, right? Throwing a heal on the tank will generate threat points. However, that taunt ability will have way more than what your measly little threat points generated from your heal. Having multiple healers spreads that threat table out. So instead of this one cleric having to burst, instead of one cleric having to burst heal the tank and ends up pulling aggro because he's burst healing the tank, there's two of them doing it. So the split for the threat for each person is split in half.
Yeah, I'm also saying that heal over time seems to fuck up that table, and it's from what I've seen in A1. So like maybe the bard isn't as necessary or like could be damaging to the party based on like threat meters and like threat tables.
That's where you tell the tank to get good.
Yeah.
Yeah, tank to get good, or like party to do like just better damages or like better like damage spread or something like that, or like have certain burst timers while like the taunt is up, like there's all these different things that you could do within a party, within a raid. And I guess the other part is like do you build a comp based on PVX, or do you do it based on PvP, or do you do it strictly for like an instance dungeon? I think you will have different comps for all three types of content. Depending on like how you interact with like different parts of the game.
Pocket, I think if you're gonna have a fighter as a tank, you would have to be able to have the tank as a secondary archetype and be able to have your abilities to do a pseudo taunt.
Yeah.
Like what we talked about earlier on the stream. If a fighter's gonna replace the tank for more damage or something like that. And also Wisp, you're gonna be the asshole bard. You're not invited to the party.
You don't acknowledge you're gonna do that. You do that when they're not expecting it, so that way they know you're good. It's like playing White Mage in Final Fantasy XIV. You know, you wait till the right moment when the tank's HP is 1, and then they take the final hit, and you watch their HP go to negative for a half a microsecond before they max out their health. It's fun. You get to play the game of how low can they go.
You see, I'm the
Oh,
asshole.
boy.
I'm the asshole in MMOs who gets to use his other engineering gadget to like teleport you guys to the edge while you're running, so you fall off.
Oh,
or
damn it.
grip you off. See, I'm that person. Wisp,
I'm never
always
playing with you
expecting
guys.
it. I'm always expecting it, Wisp.
Dude, I can't. If I had that person in my party, like I'm legit just gonna kick you like forever, or just dip. Like you're going on my kill on sight list.
See, there's a
I'm
difference.
fucking hunting you.
There's a difference in like WoW, for example, where you like pull somebody off an edge and it doesn't do anything other than you just have to cast revive real quick and that's it. Like it doesn't even do degradation of armor. And then there's Ashes where you actually have penalties. See, there's a difference.
You have XP debt, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that to be an asshole at Ashes. All right.
Also, you have to think about like if you do that in Ashes, you're gonna end up on somebody's kill on sight list, and you're gonna die, and you're actually gonna lose materials and get corruption and XP debt, or well, maybe not get corruption, but like you will get XP debt for being an asshole in a raid. So I mean, there's that too. In WoW, you have like literally no consequence to being an asshole.
I mean, even in Ashes, like that's where you go and you play your alt, and you don't tell anybody who you are when you do it. You play an alt character to be an asshole on, and that way, you know, you're fine.
I wonder if they'll allow you to hide certain characters. So like if you're like in a character screen and you're like streaming, and you just like have like a hide character list, that'd be interesting.
Probably not, and I think it's just up to the streamer to not be stupid.
Yeah, I mean like that's probably what's gonna happen, but I think about like Tibia, and in Tibia you have like hidden characters and stuff like that. So just thought about it.
I mean, I played enough MMOs where there's every type of system, from hiding characters to you literally can borrow like another player's character. I don't remember which MMO it was, but there was one I played not that like quite a few years ago, like 10 or so years ago, where you could do like a quote unquote soulmate system, and if you played with them enough with that while being marked as their soulmate in party doing content, if they're logged off, you can just play their character. You don't get access to everything they have, but you can play as their character.
Weird.
Yeah, I know. I played a lot of MMOs. I've seen almost everything.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So
it's not the greatest system. It broke a lot of people's trust.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it was fun at the time. It was novel.
So Wisp, that's what a lot of people are using it too for, just to find all the loopholes and the cheesy tactics.
Yeah, I think for A2, a lot of it is going to be us trying to figure out these tactics and these cheesy things so that they don't exist at launch, to be honest. I would rather, try to have a balanced game at launch rather than abuse the systems myself. Just because, like, I don't know, I don't find any enjoyment. Like, I have a very competitive mindset when it comes to these things. And if you are, like, I also think that if it's not patched and it's not an exploit and like it's just like really, really strong, you're not abusing anything. You are just using what the game's giving you.
Mhm.
So I mean, like I have
It's a
like a
Bethesda game.
competitive streak where it's just like either you're using the game for what its intended purpose was, and you're just doing the best thing, and then there's abusing. Like there's a for sure line on like exploiting versus just, oh, this is just really strong this patch type of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, I think with Ashes though, when it comes to like exploits versus strong like mechanics or builds, if it's not an exploit, it's probably going to be left alone, especially if everybody's doing it. If it's not meant to be there, or if it's too strong, it will probably get nerfed or changed.
I wanted to go ahead, finish.
I fully think like it'll be fine. That's it. That was the end of my thought.
Yeah. So I wanted to go ahead and go back to what Wisp said. We're going to use our segue to get back on track. He's happy that they
the last
addressed.
thing we haven't talked about.
Yeah, he's happy that they addressed diminishing returns.
I'm glad you brought that up because I completely forgot about it.
So we made it, guys.
I completely forgot about it.
Diminishing returns, I didn't fully grasp how they're doing it, besides like debuffs and CC being like if it was just for debuffs and CC, or if it was for like everything where it's like using the same sort of tactics as
So
course over time.
from my understanding, it is similar to like how WoW does their CCs, that there's different types of CC, and when you're CC'd by that type, you're then immune to it for a few seconds. So I think it was like 10 that they used. And then
10 was the example on stream, yeah, for incapacitate.
But then you could still be CC'd by a different type.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like incapacitate and stun are two separate types of CC. So you could be incapacitated for 3 seconds and then stunned for another 3. So you can essentially like rotate different types of CCs.
But I get the feeling like if you were immune and then get immediately stunned again, it's going to be like longer and longer like immunities if it's like continuously like you're getting hit with that type of CC over and over again. Where it's like,
yeah, it was never stated if it was going to have a hard cap like that. So my understanding is this: like you have certain status conditions that exist in the game, so you could get incapacitated, into the stun, into a stagger, into a trip, into a snare, and then by that time the 10 seconds is up, you can get incapacitated again. So I don't think the system is fully fleshed out.
Not yet, but also not. You would have to have a comp to be able to do it in that order every single time. And not every class is going to have access to every single one of those.
Right, but like a good coordinated, like this would happen in PvP 100%. If you're trying to get like a pick so that you can get numbers advantage, and you have a good coordinated group, you are going to single out a target that you can reach, and you are just going to spam these like the CC chain until like they're dead or you blow them up or whatever, and then you kind of like kite back on your cooldowns, and then you try to go back again, and like that will happen. And I think CC chaining does have skill, but I do think they need to be careful with how they implement more status conditions and thinking about like what diminishing turns really is, if there's a soft cap, hard cap, because in like Lost Ark you get like a super armor where if you're stunned for too long, you just, or use a specific skill, you just have super armor, you can't get CC'd by anything for X amount of duration. And if somebody tries to CC you, their ability goes on cooldown, but you don't get CC'd. So like if there's a system like that, they could probably do something like that, or they can just
Ranger has like a break free ability.
Yeah, they have a cleanse. I believe they're saying every class is supposed to have one cleanse, and I'm okay with that. Like every archetype is supposed to have a cleanse.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's a trinket.
And as long as it's one and you only have that one and it's a relatively long cooldown so that you can play around that cooldown, I'm totally fine with it.
But I also think that if you get like stunned, for example, and then you use that trinket to get out of the CC or whatever that ability is, you should still have your CC immunity.
Ooh, interesting.
I think when it comes to the diminishing returns in CC, I do hope it builds to maybe like a 30-second like immunity, because it's like, okay, you got hit with it for 10 seconds, and then immediately after that 10 seconds was up, you're now immune for 20 seconds, and then 30 seconds, and then if you
Is
keep
it-
getting immune over and over again, it's a full, like, it stays 30 seconds, so you're immune for longer and like you have long immunities.
So you want to do it like what WoW does or whatever. Like you get stunned for 8 seconds, and then 5, then 3, then 1, and then you just can't be stunned anymore.
Yeah, where it's like it's like, you're in a fight with a caravan, you've survived 108 different CCs, and they've CC'd you, like, and like you've been immune, and then it wore off, and then they CC'd you. Like, eventually you need to, like, if they go and rotate perfectly, it's like where it's like in. At some point, you need to be able to break free of a loop where it's like they cannot do it because you are immune for too long.
Well, Pockets is saying in chat, with the Rangers cleanse, it's a 30-second cooldown and it lasts for 8 seconds immunity, which honestly, I don't think that's too broken given the context that it's an MMO. Especially when it comes to like big team battles and whatever, like when you're doing like these large node sieges and stuff like that. I think that gives you enough time to get out of a fight. Maybe the cooldown could be like a minute 30, but that gives you enough time to get out of a situation and then re-enter it, and then maybe go back in.
With it being on
Maybe
a
30 seconds is just too low of a cooldown, but I don't know.
So with it being a 30-second cooldown and being CC immune for 8 seconds, it's going to turn, if every class has a CC knock that's the exact same as that, then the entire game is going to be a rotation of, is your trinket up or is your trinket down?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
it's going to be like that
So
for
you're
the
gonna,
most part.
yeah, but you're
But
gonna
that's
you're gonna you're gonna pop their trinket, and then you're gonna wait for the CC immunity to go down, and then you're gonna sit there and CC chain them to death. And it's whoever can do
but
that first.
but it's a game. Yeah, it's a game of who can pop it first, but also, we don't fully know all of the kits. I guarantee we weren't shown every skill in the Bard kit or every skill and we definitely, I'm pretty sure they're reworking Cook. Clear could go and have like a very long 1 minute cooldown that goes and gives like a party wide 5-second immune CC immune or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, for like once a minute you can give everybody in your party 5 seconds of immunity. And
I want them
now
to go the ESO route with CCs.
How do they do that again?
So ESO is that there's all the different types of CCs like snare, stun, etc., whatever. But you had a break free mechanic, and
Yeah.
but you would spend your stamina to break free, and then after that you were CC immune for like 2 or 3 seconds, right? And you could keep doing that over and over again until you ran out of stamina. But once you're out, you're out. That's it.
I think the diminishing returns plus the skill that lets you have 8 seconds immunity. Let's say you do get CC'd, maybe it's like you get CC'd for the 10 seconds. You wait it out, you get the immunity, and then right before the immunity ends, you go and pop your skill to keep you immune. You're like, and now you're 18 seconds of immune from CC. And you can go and deal with an enemy because they think you're not going to pop it right away, and they try to like catch you, and it becomes mind games at that point.
I am not going to. Oh, would I make a purdy sheep? I was gonna say I'm not gonna play summoner, so I don't think I'd be turning anybody into purdy sheep. But
I don't want polymorph. I think polymorph is the worst type of mechanic in a game.
I think polymorph, like the type of, like the polymorph in its concept is good, but it's the same thing as incapacitate. So like it's a CC that you lose control of your character, and then if they get damaged, then they pop right back.
It's literally
I kind of like that. I just don't like how long polymorph is in like the long CDs or the long like CCs in WoW are insane. Like CC should not be that long ever, 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 ever. Lulu's polymorph, yeah, it's like 2 to 3 seconds, so it's like not as bad. Like I got turned into a squirrel, and then I'm back. It's not like, but you also like don't get damaged during that either. So I mean, there's two different ways that you can do the polymorph. You can do it where you just lose control and you can't get damaged, or you lose control and then damage breaks the CC, and that's kind of exactly how incapacitate works.
I don't think it's been stated how long sleep is on others in PvP.
Yeah, no, I don't think it has, but that's like how long it was in WoW. Like it was like a 2-minute polymorph or some shit like that. If you like, you just never touch them.
But again,
And that's annoying and awful to deal with.
I think like sleep and polymorph, for example, should be less on players in PvP, but then PvE, like you still need like those 30, 45, 60-second CCs for doing polls.
Yeah, I think you can do like a Lost Ark route where things in PvP are different than PvE for sure when it comes to certain abilities.
Well, even WoW was that way. Like polymorph would last 60 seconds, but then in PvP it was only 8. No, it was still too long, but
I think CC wise, how the diminishing returns is going to play out. From how the live stream showed, it seems good, but it'll have to be I'm pretty sure it'll get adjusted once A2 drops and people actually start playing.
It's
obviously they've done no balancing or anything like that. I think we're just talking about like conceptually.
Conceptually, I think it's going the way they have it currently, from what we understand it, it's fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with it.
I like that you're able to do like you can make your group combos based around like CC immunity and stuff as well. Like you can have your bard snare them or whatever the thing is, and then have like the tank do their thing, and so then the target gets stunned. But your mage and your fighter have a different combo that would also stun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing is like Ashes has like these certain status conditions that are all different and they all kind of like synergize. So it really depends on like which status condition you're applying and which one are you doing it on, and does it elevate the status of the status condition. So I mean, I think there's a lot of things that they're testing with Ashes of Creation that's going to make it a little bit different than other games. And I kind of like that. And I'm also just cautiously optimistic about some of this stuff as well, just because like shit could get really broken really fast if they just do one wrong thing, you know? So I think it will be up to us in like A2 to just be like, hey, stop it. Don't do that. So a bear was slept and stunned. Go ahead.
Sorry, so when a bear was slept and stunned, and when the mage snared it, the tank's bellowing roar did not knock it down in the cleric stream. See, I don't, cause
that's a bug or something. I don't know.
That bears can't be knocked down. It's a bear.
Yeah, it could just be too big.
Like, there could be also like for PvE, it could be so enemies just have intrinsic CC resistance that you have to bypass.
Pockets DRs were not implemented until the Bard stream. There was no such thing as a DR until the Bard stream.
Pretty much. Well, there was Node Wars. Node Wars had it.
From what I heard, that A1 didn't have any DR from what people were complaining about.
No, Node Wars, the one that the Phoenix Initiates could talk about. So when they were in the earlier test, they had like a tank wall that would stun, and it was absurdly broken. So like Vertec, Phantom, all these people are telling me this stuff. They said it was absolutely absurdly broken. Steven absolutely hated it, so they removed that wall and then started implementing diminishing returns at the later tests. Okay.
So they were implementing them as it was going. Because I think in the Bard stream, one of the devs made a comment about it, saying that it was awful.
Yeah.
So
it was. and it was because of the Node Wars. So yeah, he was definitely one of the reasons why they just decided to do like two birds, one stone type of thing.
I mean, I'm assuming they were talking about DR and players pocket, but I mean,
Players, yeah.
I'm assuming that bear probably had like a resistance or something to being knocked down, because we do know that mobs do have certain types of resistances like that.
It's also quite possible that they weren't scripted to be knocked down or anything too. So I don't know how that works. Like I'm not a game dev or anything like that.
Either Steven is in here and we could talk to him and he could tell us if that bear was supposed to be knocked down, or we'll find out in A2.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
just ask all the people that are under NDA right now. Just shoot a message, see if they say yes or no.
They're not going to tell you.
Cannot confirm or deny anything, I'll tell you that. Taking the Jamie stance.
But by saying that, you just confirm it for me. Based off the inflection on your voice.
How did I confirm? Huh?
It's funny because I'm not to throw Jamie under the bus or anything like that, but whenever he does that, I've known him long enough that I could tell based off the inflection of his voice on how he says it. He probably doesn't realize it himself.
Maybe, because I can't tell. I can't tell shit. Maybe I'm just socially inept. Maybe that's what it is.
I also pay a lot more attention to things that people realize. So.
All right. I am staying away from Quirion from here on out. He's not getting a single thing out of me.
It's fine. We'll get the game soon enough.
True. October. Maybe.
Hopefully October.
Yeah.
We'll know in like what, a week and a half?
I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah, like 11 days.
Yeah.
11 days.
I'm kind of the opinion it'll be when it'll be.
Yeah. We've already been waiting this long ago. Waiting this long. We can wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll just talk about the delay real quick. Might as well. Like,
sure,
we can, since that can be a closing topic.
Yeah, honestly, as much as I hate to say it, I expected the delay. I didn't
expect it, but I wasn't surprised either. Let's put it that way.
Intrepid's track record on dates has always been abysmal.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, with seeing so many issues that happened within the Node Wars stream, I wasn't too surprised.
I think when it came to the delay, it's hard to call it a delay when it's literally essentially a 1 month, possibly not even, difference. We don't know what their original landmark was. It could have
it probably was the 31st.
It was September, I don't know, 29th, and it gets dropped on October 4th. In which case, it's not even a week difference, kind of thing. If we have a solid date and it's like, okay, it's October 30th, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'd call that a proper delay. But until we have a solid date or we know when it was originally going to drop, there's no way to call it a delay, because, as I just mentioned, it could be, if they drop it October 4th, that's still in the same week, literally in the same week as an October date, like a September date.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the people that are in here already heard this. Jamie told this on the other stream, but the day after the delay happened, I read up that NVIDIA's Blackwell GPU was gonna be delayed 3 months. And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe people are white knighting NVIDIA. Like, we should shame them. It's their fault. They should take responsibility. Like, oh man, I can't believe this company, delayed their chip by 3 months. We should hold them accountable. Like, it's gonna happen in development no matter what.
Oh, absolutely.
Ashes is doing technology development with server meshing and stuff like that, of course there's going to be delays. There's going to be
I've
like
done-
certain things that they haven't like encountered or could plan for. Like it's not really been done in the game development world from what I'm aware of. So yeah, like I expect delays all the time, and I expect even with the roadmap that's coming out on August 16th that yeah, there might be some delays on some of these roadmap timings.
Was
One
it-
thing. Sorry.
was it-
One thing.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go. One thing that like a lot of people also don't understand is like I work a corporate job. I'll give that much information. And I was part of a pilot to upgrade our software from Windows 7 to 10. And I was the cause personally of it being delayed over a month for rollout. And it was like promised to the entire company for a specific day, and I caused the delay because I found many things that were not working with the system that we needed to use. And it's like it could be during the live stream, um Steven mentioned there was like they were doing a test with like the early A2 people, and there was a network issue that was like found. Things recovered, but they could have learned something and been like, oh boy, we can fix this and make a better A2, but it's going to delay us.
And I'd rather have that.
Yeah.
And like it could have been like, oh damn it, this is going to delay us 2 weeks, and that pushes us into October. Let's fix it. We'll apologize for the delay. And everybody here would rather them fix, especially if it was a network related issue or something network they found, where it's like, oh, maybe they found a way to prevent crashes, or make it where a server can spin up and prevent you from being logged out or something like that. Maybe they discovered something. We don't know.
Honestly, and they were having networking issues at the beginning of having all of those new early A2 people logging in. I bet you that because of the delay and everything, they saw what was going wrong, and we're gonna have less crashes at the beginning of when A2 actually launches. We're gonna have less resets and wipes and downtimes at the first couple days because of the delay.
I still expect
Oh, it's gonna happen.
I still would expect it, but maybe it's less than what it would have been. Yeah, sure.
It could be but it could be where, oh, maybe you don't notice the servers going down anymore. Maybe they found a way to implement a system where it's like, okay, you don't have to re-log in, but maybe it's like you're kicked for a moment. It's like disconnected, and you wait a second, and it's like reconnects you and just puts you back in the game.
That would be sick. If
Like,
they
we
can
don't know
accomplish
what
it, that would be awesome.
We don't know, and I'm speculating. But this is one of the reasons it could have been delayed, and we don't know. None of us work there. And even if we did work there, there's no way to like. Could not even like. You're not gonna. We can't talk about it.
So
But we don't
Well,
work there.
I do IT, so like I can kind of like think about like how technology works. I don't know if they're able to do that. I don't think it's possible when a server goes down and they kick up a backup server. I don't think it's possible. But if they figure out a way to do that because they are smarter individuals than I am, then that's fucking sick.
So what? Okay, I know, Lloyd. I know I asked you this question back on the roundtable when they first did server meshing and everything. What is preventing? So we are okay. So let me preface real quick. We know that with the servers, that the server sizes are dynamic and they'll grow and shrink areas depending on player activity and stuff, or they'll even split up to sub servers like the server A and server B, whatever. Because there's so many players and stuff there. What is preventing if server A server number 1 goes down? What is preventing server number 2, which already has copies of those players because of how the templates work? Going like when they were discussing how the templates work for going from cross server and everything.
Yeah.
What's preventing server B from expanding and taking over the crash server A?
Mostly because they're functioning on two separate virtual machines. So like if you're both on like if you're on server 2 and you have dynamic gridding and the dynamic grid is failing, yeah, server 2 can, you know, you might have a little bit of lag, and during the backup snapshot like coming up on the dynamic grid itself, you might experience lag, and then those like particles and effects might happen and like occur back. But if you're on two separate virtual machines and like server 1 goes down and you're on server 2, you're going to see particle effects come through and packet loss go through, so that those abilities that were coming through are no longer coming through, and they just dissipate, and you don't take damage. And you're like, huh, that's weird. And then you realize that entire server went down, and they are creating a backup server to replace it, or that backup server is coming online to replace that one that just went down, so that when server 1 kicks those people out, you on server 2 can go across, and as you go across, you might experience some lag as that backup server is taking its place. But once you cross that server border, then you're just going to exist in that world, and then when people log back into their characters, they'll just populate into the backup server.
So you don't think there's any way to prevent those servers from those people from being kicked off if server 2 can't expand quick enough?
Server 2 doesn't have the snapshot, so it can't expand. It can't just like have its resources and the snapshot be given to it and it expand inherently. Not with current technology.
How the communication works and all that too, for how much gets transmitted on the crash. But I get the feeling like once it's all properly working, servers going down is going to be extremely rare.
Well, sorry, I get that it's not possible. I'm just trying to figure out like why, if that makes sense.
Because you're on two separate entities. It's not like it's expanding and shrinking and like taking that information. You are literally functioning on two different networks, or the same network but on two different entities. And so like that snapshot can't just expand and shrink. What happens is that snapshot goes to the backup server, and that backup server takes its place. You're not taking an already existing server and getting that data.
But doesn't server B have?
And the server lines are static. So like, even though you have certain virtual machines that are coming up and kind of like maneuvering, then like you are having like certain servers come up and go down, but you're not ever having a server go from like here and then also taking over this amount of resource, unless it's a dynamic gridded server. That's the only way that'll happen. So dynamic gridding will function that way, but not the server mesh itself.
Okay.
That makes enough of a sense to me.
That was I got
that
enough.
Was a very high level for like people that do not understand it. But I think with that, yeah. So I think, to summarize, I think we're all pretty excited for Bard. With what Bard came, we're all excited for A2, and we're some of us do like either possibly over or underestimate the healing power of Bard. But
yeah, I just don't trust numbers in the current state.
We'll have to wait and see when the game comes out, or at least A2.
A2, so, yeah.
Well, we can actually do like healing tests. That would be fun, just doing like healing testing.
Yeah, I would also like to see how threat is managed with healing, and how those threat tables are actually generated. See if they are the way that Quirion stated.
I think that threat tables and stuff are going to be something that's also going to be worked on a lot during A2.
Yeah,
but
I would agree.
Seeing how the threat works in the Bard stream and also the fighter ones, they weren't pulling aggro while healing.
Yeah, so I wonder. Yeah, I just wonder. I wonder.
We'll have to wait and see. I think that's a good stopping point there. That was a great discussion.
This is Aura saying that they want to leave. They're sick and
Yeah,
tired
this
of
is me
us.
saying I'm out of thoughts at this point with this.
This is all I'm saying that they're done.
It's a good stopping point. We like for real though. We
No.
did have some great discussion. Thank you for having me on, Korean.
Of course. Do you guys want to give yourselves your own shout outs and stuff?
Oh, fine. Lloyd, go first.
Oh, fine.
Lloyd put on the spot again.
Yeah.
I am Lude Lloyd, 2 L's on everything. Twitter or X, Instagram, Reddit, Twitch, YouTube. That you can find all my links on there. Or you could just click on my little thingy down below and just go follow my link tree. Everything's on there.
Good enough, I guess.
By thingy down below, if you're looking at Twitch where it says my name down there, it also says with Lloyd because we're doing stream
Yep.
together.
Yep,
Well,
yep,
I
yep.
chose to not bother.
Click on my what? My link tree.
Yeah, link tree.
He wants you to click on his thingy.
Yeah,
My thingy.
I'll quickly do mine.
Am I lewd enough for you? Sorry. I'm sorry, or I keep cutting you off.
That's fine. I am Aura Frostline. I am a PNG tuber, very variety streamer. I currently am waiting for my new computer to get going, but you can find me at twitch.tv/Aura Frostline, all one word. And pretty much if you enjoy my rambling, I do that pretty much exclusively.
Big fan.
We love all the rambling.
Yeah. Who are we rating?
Let's
We got
see,
Zillin at 30 in the Golden Feather Tavern. We got
Let's do
Vertec
Golden
doing his
Feather, I
mead
think.
quest. Mead
Let's
quest.
see.
Let's do Golden Feather. I think that's a good choice. Kind of
well,
podcast to podcast.
Well, so if he's doing his mead quest, I think Zillin's actually talking about.
Yeah.
He's just reacting.
Well, he's doing his mead quest, but he likes to talk
Rory
Ashes
says
of Creation a lot.
Yeah, Rory says
Usually
TGF.
you'll see Vertec just sitting with a background with Hogwarts Legacy in the background, and he'll just be talking Ashes of Creation the whole time.
Yeah. We'll go say hello to the Golden Feather Tavern. So
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go ahead and start this going. All right, everybody. Everyone, you have a good rest of your night. You be safe. If you guys want to do exclamation Discord, you can find my personal one, and we can chat there more if you'd like. But everyone, have a good night and be safe. Leave your weapons at the door. I don't want to leave my weapon at the door.